When a relationship ends, I know that often we're told that it's like each person has a part to play. And I struggled with that for a really long time because in my marriage with my ex husband, I didn't see the part that I had to play. I just thought that, I mean, at the time when I left him to be more and feel more. I couldn't keep growing with someone who kept shutting me down and stonewalling me. And I couldn't see what my part was. I could see that I wasn't perfect in the relationship. I could see that when I was very frustrated with him, um, I would be critical, I would check out. But the last 3 years of our marriage, I was positively engaged and I wasn't complaining, criticizing, or nagging or checking out. I was lovingly engaged. I've been listening to these videos by Terry Real, a relationship expert who does things very differently from other therapists by holding people accountable, taking sides, and lovingly confronting them with what they're doing wrong, where that came from, and what they need to do right. I'm going to link one of his videos below. I've been reading his books, and I really love his model of relational life therapy. And one of the things he says is that usually what he tries to do, he tries to give the woman a voice. He says that most women are resentful, angry, like angry pursuers, like they are people pleasing and deep down resentful, and that men tend to be like dominating and hiding their vulnerability. I think I'm kind of paraphrasing that too well. And he wants women to step up and use their voice to ask for what they want and be fierce. He calls it fierce intimacy. And he wants men to open up and be vulnerable. That's what he's trying to teach. I would say that I really believe that applies to me. I believe that the reason I divorced my husband is because he was stonewalling. He was refusing to grow, refusing to dig into these parts of himself that he was so terrified of. And you know, for some guys, whether they're critical, one of my friends, Tranquility, just made a video about breaking up with her boyfriend because he was fault finding and critical and bringing up things from the past. And these are all defensive patterns that people either want to work on or they don't. And if people don't want to work on their stuff, whose fault is it when the relationship ends? I'm going to say it's the person who refuses to be fiercely intimate. Fiercely intimate, as Terry Real refers to it, I'm going to call it as being authentic and asking for what you want in a loving way, firmly. So you're not pushing it away and being resentful or acting it out. And not everybody wants to be fiercely intimate. Some people want to stay stuck in their negative power dynamics. They don't want to change, and they would rather lose you than change. No matter how much they love you, it's not about you, it's about them. It's about them wanting to hold on to being right, holding on to their ego, holding on to their anger, not wanting to grow. And I'm going to say one thing is that I will never date someone who doesn't want to grow and who doesn't want to do his inner child work and work on his reactivity and his trauma. Terry Real talks about when he's talking to someone, he'll say, am I talking to your adult self, your child self, or your adapted self? Because the inner child comes from this very, when you talk like a 5-year-old and you're just angry or shut down like a 5-year-old, that's the wounded child. And then the adaptive child is the way that someone learned to cope with that and they act out. But the adult self is the part that can be fiercely intimate, that can be relational. And that's another reason I'm not sure I even want to date, because half the time people walking around acting from their wounded child or their adaptive child, using all kinds of strategies where they try to criticize you, control you, manipulate you, fix you, abandon you, stonewall, run away, and all these freaking games. And I don't want that. I was married to that. I've seen that, and I don't want that. I would rather be alone and be with my friends who are empowered, who are working on their stuff. And society has really discouraged men from being vulnerable. All that's really changed. And that's why I tend to like younger men, because they were raised without having to disown their vulnerability. You know, vulnerability is not a sissy quality, it's a human quality. Without vulnerability, you're just a shell of a person, disconnected, and you cannot be intimate with a woman who's in her heart unless you can meet her and human to human. So that's why it's so important. Everybody, listen up. If you want to have a fulfilling, emotionally fulfilling relationship, to find somebody who wants that also and who's willing to dig deep and do that stuff and face their stuff, because that's better for them. It's better for them. You're doing them a huge fucking favor. You know, when I was married, I used to tell my husband, you know, I'm trying to just want you to be more open with me, sexually more connected, or talk about your feelings. I'm not asking you to rob a bank or take heroin. I'm asking you to do something that's actually good for you. And as women, we need to challenge our men, and men, we need to challenge our women, challenge each other to be better and to step it up in a loving, firm way. Not everybody wants that challenge. You know, my ex-husband married someone who doesn't really care about all that vulnerability and all that stuff. Don't ask about the cat, that's nobody's business. I have somebody visiting me. But not everybody wants to be that vulnerable either. So let those people who want to come from that place and have those very superficial relationships have them, and people who want to come from their trauma bonds have them. But those of us who want to be empowered and authentic, let's not put up with any bullshit and coddle people who want to act out. Let's stop protecting people, whether they're our parents or siblings or kids or friends or clients. Stop protecting people. Stop coddling people. Stop trying to fix people. Treat people with respect. As adults, we deserve to be treated with respect. And what I do now is I look for guys, I look at how they show up, I'll tell them my boundaries. If they don't like it, they can take a fucking hike. And if they are willing to be with my boundaries, they can be a part of my life. And that's it. I'm not going to try to fix you. I'm not going to try to coddle you. I'm not going to try to change you. You are who you are. Nobody wants to be changed. But some people will take the baton when they're asked to step it up. They'll be like, damn, you know, I like that. I definitely want that. I want what you're suggesting. That'll be good for me. That appeals to me. Also, it's really hard to find a good therapist. Most therapists are about helping you feel good. And, you know, everybody is equally to blame, but they're not all equally to blame. Terry Real talks about there's always a person who's been quiet who needs to have a bigger voice, and there's a person who's been the loudmouth or the controller who needs to have their step down a little bit. He's really pretty good. I've been reading his books, and as you know, this is a topic that really interests me. But, you know, the more I learn about therapy and relationships and coaching and the inner child and how people are so fucked up, it makes me not even want to be in a relationship. Because, yeah, everybody can show up great in an escort appointment or on a first date, but try living with these assholes. Sorry to use the word. You know, I mean, fortunately, there are a lot of younger men that have it a lot more together. I feel like emotionally, like I look at my sons and I admire how emotionally strong and empowered they are. But a lot of people walking around carrying a lot of garbage, and you don't see that on the first date. You see that when you live with them. There's also a thing called marital hatred, normal marital hatred. And Terry Real says in his 40 years of working with people, no one has ever said, what does that mean? Because everybody sometimes does hate their spouse. And honestly, I remember that too. I don't even want a part of that. I'm living by myself. There's no one to hate, no one to upset me, and everything is just going great. So I hope you guys will check out Terry Real and his work on couples coaching. He's one of the nation's foremost couples therapists. And thank you so much for watching my video.